going, everybody? Welcome to the Keep It Kayfabe podcast. Here we are with episode number 6. I'm here with my co-host, Matt. He's here every time now. You're a permanent fixture on this show.
I am.
We have a bunch of fans. We're breaking news.
Breaking news.
We have some Brock Lesnar news here today. We actually have the substance he failed for. As reported by the LA Times, Lesnar failed a second drug test on the night of UFC 200, and he was popped for an estrogen blocker. One of the same exact ones that John Jones failed for. And John Jones failed for 2 separate estrogen blockers, but the substance here is clomiphene, and Victor Conti of the Balco drug empire there, a couple years ago in the baseball era, says that this drug is a PED and can increase testosterone by as much as 50%. So it's very much effective. So, yeah, Lesnar seems to definitely be on PEDs. Same thing with Jones. I mean, Lesnar hasn't released any statements, I don't think, yet. I mean, he said we'll get to the bottom of this, but I don't think he said he was guilty or innocent or anything like that. And Jones has been saying that he's innocent the whole time with his press conference the day after. So listen to our last podcast to see what a drug test failure for Lesnar could mean for the WWE and for his fighting future. In other news, Nick Diaz's suspension is up July 31st. He fought Anderson Silva 2 years ago in a fight that he lost to Anderson, and Anderson failed for PEDs, and then Nick Diaz got popped for a marijuana violation, and so he was suspended for 5 years, and after a long feud with the Nevada State Athletic Commission, he got it reduced to 18 months, so that is up July 31st, so he's probably going to be booked for a fight very soon. His little brother rose to fame recently. He beat Conor McGregor, and he actually became the more popular Diaz brother. For about 10 years there, Nick was the most popular one, and so now it's going to be fun to see where he goes. He's probably going to end up facing the winner of Carlos Condit and Damian Maia. That fight has been moved from UFC 202 to UFC on Fox 21.
So, in some more MMA news, at Bellator 158, Michael Venom Page, also known as MVP, had a fight against Cyborg. And Cyborg went in for a takedown in this fight. Michael Venom Page kneed him in the face. Cyborg went straight down, and MVP won the fight. It was later reported that Cyborg suffered from a fractured skull from that knee in the fight. Now, this isn't all that happened, as in a little more ridiculous news at the end of this fight, after they announced Michael Venom Page as the winner, he put on a Pokemon hat, grabbed a Pokeball, and rolled it at the down Cyborg on the mat.
Mind you, it's while Cyborg was still screaming in pain because he had a fractured skull.
A fractured skull.
So as we mentioned before on the show, Bellator's made some questionable booking decisions in the past. They had the Kimbo fight, where Kimbo and Dada 5000, Dada suffered the two heart attacks inside the Bellator cage, and then a month after the fight, Kimbo died of pretty sure heart attack or complications from a failing heart. And then we have Cyborg here this last weekend, and he's an older fighter. He's not the worst, but I wouldn't say he's top 50 in the world in his weight class. And they put him in there against a killer like MVP, and then this happens. Like, what do they expect? Also, after the fight, initially it looked like Cyborg was going to need to have a fundraiser to pay for his medical bills, but then Bellator said they would cover all the expenses. His ex-wife, Cyborg Santos, the UFC female fighter, actually had a GoFundMe page set up, and then in a report later, he said that he didn't need the GoFundMe page, and he would be good to fight within the next 3 months, and he's not actually that hurt. So all these things are translated from Portuguese because they're Brazilian and they don't really speak English, so it'll take a few days to find out what they actually said. But if he is good to go in the next couple months, Bellator shouldn't have him fight because, like I said before on the show, and these words might be predicting the future a little bit here, but Bellator might have the first MMA death if they keep booking people in fights like this. It's getting to the point where, like, I feel like they just throw in the worst fighter against the best fighter they can find and then hope for the best results, like the Gladiator days. Like, people say MMA is barbaric, and it's really not at all, but it is barbaric if you put in someone that can't defend themselves against a killer. Like, if you put in a kickboxer against, like, a 50-year-old man that can't defend, like, head kicks. That's not good. Next, we have a brief Cruiserweight Classic review. This is a WWE run tournament where they have 32, right? 32?
32, yeah.
Yeah, okay. 32 of the best cruiserweights in the world from all different promotions, all different countries. I think there's over 10 different countries listed, right?
There's a lot of different countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's people from New Japan, there's people from Independence in Germany, the UK, and
even smaller than that, there was a guy who started his own promotion in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these people are really good workers. They've never had a big stage to wrestle on before, but all these matches are great. All these guys had to weigh in to make the 205-pound weight limit. They're all smaller guys, so they're all guys that can just fly around the ring, sell moves really well. So on Wednesday night, we had round 1, and all these matches were taped before, but they were never televised. So this is the first time they're being televised. And this show had the first 4 matches of the tournament, and we're not going to give any spoilers here, but some of New Japan's biggest stars are taking place in the tournament. Some old faces from wrestling like Tajiri are taking place in the tournament. And some names you've never heard of before are also there, so definitely check that out. Matt, any words on the Cruiserweight Classic?
Yeah, after watching the first episode of the Cruiserweight Classic that's available on the WWE Network, I think it's going to be a really entertaining tournament. A lot of these guys have a really entertaining style, it seems. That high-flying cruiserweight, all the kinds of flips and entertaining types of spots and moves that a lot of people like to see in matches. And the combination of Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan on commentary, I think, also works really well. I think the two of them work really well together to explain what's going on in the match without having some of the kayfabe interruption that you get from the regular Raw or SmackDown commentary. This is pure statistical commentary, pure play-by-play commentary, without some of the without as much of that the storyline stuff. So I like the commentary, and I like the action that I saw in the first episode, and I'd like to see more of this style of wrestling if they continue to do like what they've done in the first episode here.
I would definitely say if I was hanging out with somebody who didn't watch wrestling at all, this is definitely the show I would show them, because you don't have to know the wrestlers to be involved in the storylines. You don't have to know anything about wrestling. You don't have to already know where these guys are coming from. You can just enjoy the matches for what they are. The announcers do a great job of telling the story as it's taking place in the ring. And even if there's no story, you can just enjoy the action. So I highly recommend this. So you guys should definitely check it out.
And even with no story, they do have their little vignettes before each match. Each wrestler does have a little vignette where they explain their little personality, their style or whatever. So even though there's no story, it's still that little bit of wrestling thrown in there.
Also, of note, it seems to not take into account WWE kayfabe, WWE fakeness. We have Daniel Bryan playing a very serious commentator. He's not his fun-loving character that's currently on TV. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the old WWE guys like Tajiri are going to have their history and past mentioned, or if it's just going to be ignored in favor of their more recent work. So, we'll see where that goes. And now we have the draft results of the 2016 WWE Draft that took place on Live SmackDown. That they're advertising as the first Live SmackDown, even though there's been over like 20 Live SmackDowns. But this is the first one.
The first one.
Apparently.
But this is the first SmackDown Live.
And draft on SmackDown.
That's true.
Well, first full draft on SmackDown. Even though half of it was on the WWE Network. And they advertised that it was on the network. Unlike last night when they cut off Raw and didn't tell anybody to go to the network to check out
No,
the finish.
if you just watched Raw, you would have thought Seth Rollins was the WWE champion going out of Raw.
Yeah, very rookie mistake there at the end of Raw. What the hell, Kevin Dunn?
Stephanie McMahon even announced it.
So the first draft pick was Seth Rollins to Raw.
Oh boy, Seth Rollins. What a surprise.
Then we had Dean Ambrose to SmackDown.
Of course.
And from there on out, it was kind of underwhelming. There were no crazy random wild card picks, nothing like that. It was all kind of straight up,
No, yeah, nothing came as a surprise. Everything was part of the regular roster that you would have expected. There was no surprise returns or anything like that.
So we have here American Alpha, Carmella, Nia Jax, Finn Balor, Alexa Bliss, and Mojo Rawley from NXT. There was no Nakamura, no Samoa Joe, there was no Asuka, there was no Bayley. Not even in the supplemental draft on the WWE Network where, the social outcast got drafted. In storyline sense, you want the best draft picks, right? So Finn Balor lost to Samoa Joe, and then he lost to Shinsuke Nakamura. So you want to draft the best guy. So what you do is you draft Finn Balor, who lost to both of those guys, and then don't touch any of the other guys throughout the whole entire draft. Now, if it was explained that they didn't get to pick the last, half of the draft or whatever didn't air on Raw, maybe they didn't get to pick it, maybe that would make sense. But storyline-wise, why would you neglect all those top draws that you have that are available to you?
Well, I mean, Kane chokeslammed Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and then who's the next person that we're drafting but Sami Zayn?
Yeah, we're supposed to shake things up here, and we have Kane burying. I mean, a lot of people are gonna say that's overreacting because it was just one segment, but Kane shouldn't be burying guys like this. He shouldn't be chokeslamming Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at the same time.
Not a good segment.
Not a good segment.
Why
at
are you
all.
putting over Kane so much?
And so other than that, we have our SmackDown champions now are Miz with the Intercontinental, Ambrose with the World Title.
WWE Championship.
The WWE Championship. Sorry, they're probably going to make another one for Raw now. Daniel Bryan is the SmackDown GM with Shane McMahon being the SmackDown Commissioner. We have Mick Foley as the Raw GM with Stephanie as the Raw Commissioner. Charlotte is the Women's Champion. Rusev is the United States Champion. And the New Day stuck together during the draft. They're on Raw. Some interesting news here. We split up the Wyatt family. We don't have Braun Strowman anymore on with the Wyatts, with the rest of the Wyatts anyway. Bray and Eric Rowan are on SmackDown, and Braun is on Raw. So they're going to finish up their feud here with the New Day, and I don't know. And that's another thing, is now the New Day is going to be on Raw, and the Wyatts are on SmackDown. So that's pretty much just saying that, this whole brainwashing thing is gonna end.
But I mean, maybe they rip Xavier Woods out of the New Day still. Just because they were drafted together doesn't mean they're going to remain together necessarily.
You're right, but there's...
Bray Wyatt could still rip Xavier Woods out and not necessarily have, the Wyatt family around anymore, but just have Xavier Woods as, almost as a manager, like he does for the New Day.
If they want to mess up one of their top draws, that's what I would have them do. Which I'm sure they wouldn't mind messing up their top draws. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. Also, Roman Reigns was drafted to Raw, right? And yes. Brock Lesnar was drafted to Raw.
Brock Lesnar was.
So Stephanie doesn't care about drug test results or anything.
No.
She doesn't care. She's a heel.
That's true.
And Mick Foley doesn't care. He's a heel now.
I guess, yeah.
He's tweener heel. And,
I mean, his off-the-cuff pick was Chris Jericho, so he's definitely a heel.
Well, Daniel Bryan had to have the Miz's back and draft him.
But that was just because he's Intercontinental Champion.
Really lackluster draft here. If you didn't watch it, you didn't really miss anything. Like you said, there wasn't any.
It was really run of the mill.
No news here. So that's our final segment here today. We're gonna have a more in-depth draft review probably in our next show. So look out for that. If there's anything you want to see, leave us a comment. If you liked what you heard, give us a share, give us a like. Thanks for listening, everybody. We're probably going to do this once or twice a week. Like we said, it's probably not going to be daily, but maybe someday it will be, so stay tuned. That was Keep It Kayfabe podcast number 6, and number 7 will be coming in 2 or 3 days.